Today we will be welcoming our guest speaker, who was one of the speakers at yesterday's climate panel, Fred Small. Reverend Fred Small is a Unitarian Universalist pastor, singer and songwriter and activist. Reverend Fred Small is Minister for Climate Justice at Arlington Street Church in Boston, and he's been cited by Bill McKibben as one of the key figures in the religious environmental surge. Fred left parish ministry in 2015 to devote his energies to climate advocacy. So you'll be hearing from Fred later this morning.
Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. Bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. Please rise in body or in spirit and sing this with me. This is not the version that's in the hymnal, so opening the hymnal will be of no use to you. The version in the hymnal is a beautiful Appalachian hymn, bright morning stars arising, very lovely. And Cord Dorsey, musician and activist, took Bright Morning Stars to the Seabrook nuclear power protests decades ago, and he kicked it up a notch and turned it into this anthem, Bright Morning Star Arising. And I'll let you know the lyrics as we go, starting with Bright Morning Star. Give it a try. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. There's some wonderful harmonies to be found in this song. I love what Pete Seeger used to say about harmony. He said, "Don't be afraid of harmony. Harmony is any note that your neighbor isn't singing." So give it a try. Bright morning star. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. For justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, days a breaking in my soul. For the healing of creation, 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 days a breaking in my soul. For peace in every nation, 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 days a breaking in my soul. For the future of our children, 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 days a breaking in my last time. Bright morning star, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. Beautiful. The reading this morning is by Kathy Jetnell-Kejner of the Marshall Islands, a poem for her daughter. Dear Matafele Penam, you are a 7-month-old sunrise of gummy smiles. You are bald as an egg and bald as the Buddha. You are thighs that are thunder and shrieks that are lightning. So excited for bananas, hugs, and our morning walks past the lagoon. Dear Matafele Penam, I want to tell you about that lagoon, that lucid, sleepy lagoon lounging against the sunrise. Men say that one day that lagoon will devour you. They say it will gnaw at the shoreline, chew at the roots of your breadfruit trees, gulp down rows of your seawalls, and crunch your island's shattered bones. They say you, your daughter, and your granddaughter too will wander rootless with only a passport to call home. Dear Matafele Penam, don't cry. Mommy promises you no one will come and devour you. No greedy whale of a company sharking through political seas. No backwater bullying of businesses with broken morals. No blindfolded bureaucracies gonna push this mother ocean over the edge. No one's drowning, baby. No one's moving. No one's losing their homeland. No one's gonna become a climate change refugee. Or should I say, no one else. To the Carteret Islanders of Papua New Guinea, and to the Taro Islanders of the Solomon Islands, I take this moment to apologize to you. We are drawing the line here. Because, baby, we are going to fight. Your mommy, daddy, Booba, Jimma, your country and president too, we will all fight. And even though there are those hidden behind platinum titles who like to pretend that we don't exist, that the Marshall Islands, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Maldives, and Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, and floods of Pakistan, Algeria, Colombia, and all the hurricanes, earthquakes, and tidal waves didn't exist. Still, there are those who see us. Hands reaching out, fists raising up, banners unfurling, megaphones booming, and we are canoes blocking coal ships. We are the radiance of solar villages. We are the rich, clean soil of the farmer's past. We are petitions blooming from teenage fingertips. We are families biking, recycling, reusing, engineers dreaming, designing, building, artists painting, dancing, writing, and we are spreading the word. And there are thousands out in the street, marching with signs, hand in hand, chanting for change now. And they're marching for you, baby. They're marching for us. Because we deserve to do more than just survive. We deserve to thrive. Dear Matafele Penam, your eyes heavy with drowsy weight. So just close those eyes, baby, and sleep in peace, because we won't let you down. You'll see. Well, the choir just preached my sermon, so I guess we can all go home now. I bring you warm greetings from the Reverend Kim Crawford Harvey. Many of you know her as your former minister, and she is my colleague at Arlington Street Church in Boston, and the person who really, more than any other, inspired me to become a Unitarian Universalist and then a Unitarian Universalist minister. Yeah, that's a good thing. The house where I grew up stood on a quiet corner in Plainfield, New Jersey, surrounded by a hedge. To my sister and me as children, our hedge was a source of security and magic, kind of like a year-round Christmas tree. In autumn, the wind would sweep fallen leaves into its lower branches, trapped in their embrace until my dad would rake them out into great piles for burning. One fall afternoon when I was, 4 or 5 years old, I thought it might be fun to light a match and burn some of the leaves caught in the hedge. They were dry as paper, and the flame spread surprisingly quickly. I rushed inside to fetch a glass of water. But by the time I returned, the blaze was beyond my power to extinguish. I ran to my mother, who called the fire department, who put out the fire before it spread more than a few yards along the hedge. Soon afterward, I was a guest of the fire department, where I was given a comic book about fire safety and a badge, making me an official junior deputy fire chief. Where it had burned, the hedge never really recovered, stunted forever by my short-sightedness and self-absorption. But I was just a child. Today the world is on fire. The last 4 years, 2015 through 2018, have been the hottest in recorded history. Last fall, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warned that we have only a dozen years to keep global warming to a maximum of 1.5 degrees centigrade, beyond which even half a degree will significantly worsen drought, flooding, extreme heat, and poverty for hundreds of millions of people. Meanwhile, carbon dioxide keeps pouring into the atmosphere at record rates with no sign of leveling off. Those who have done the least to cause global warming are the ones suffering the most from its impacts. Africa holds 16% of the world's population and produces less than 4% of all greenhouse gases. In the Turkana region of Kenya, rising temperatures have ravaged livestock, fishing, and drinking water. I don't know what climate change is, says one elder, but I know from all the changes, the constant droughts, the seasons are gone. These are changes happening in our land. Our life is becoming hard, and we can't do anything. I'll die anytime, but what of my grandchildren? I want them to have a future. But what are their lives going to be? His wife adds, maybe God knows how we'll survive. Any sermon on climate change is necessarily a meditation on hope. The great Unitarian preacher and abolitionist Theodore Parker once asked, what is transient in Christianity and what is permanent? We must ask, what is transient in human life on earth and what is permanent? What's transient? The snows of Kilimanjaro, glaciers in Glacier National Park, polar bears in the wild, ancient forests, Vermont maple syrup, cheap gasoline, shopping malls, Provincetown, Boston, stable food supply, stable government, and much, much more, yet beyond our comprehension. What's permanent? Love. As for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. But love never ends. Love and its attendants, faith and hope. A meditation on hope. Every religious tradition forbids theft. Climate change is theft from our own children and from the most vulnerable people on the planet, most of them poor and of color. Every religious tradition commands us to care for creation. Climate change desecrates creation. Every religious tradition condemns materialism and greed. Climate change is the consequence of our making an idol of materialism and greed. Every religious tradition calls us to care for the weak and helpless among us. Climate change devastates the weak and helpless among us. A meditation on hope. Scott Pruitt was forced out as administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, not because he took a wrecking ball to the climate, but because he never saw an ethical lapse he didn't like. The new administrator, former coal lobbyist Andrew Wheeler, is as bad or worse because more quietly effective in dismantling environmental protections. A meditation on hope. Given the threats we face, isn't hope just pie in the sky? No. Given the threats we face, hope is a necessity. Everything that is done in the world, Dr. King told us, is done by hope. Hope is a catalyst, explains Nick Vujicic, a 36-year-old Australian born with no arms and no legs. Hope can move obstacles that seem immovable, Nick says. When you keep pushing, refusing to give up, you create momentum. Hope creates opportunities you never would have anticipated. Helpful people are drawn to you. Doors open. Paths are cleared. Defeat happens only to those who refuse to try again. Now, I have no idea how challenging life without arms or legs must be. Climate change poses global challenges of a different magnitude entirely. What kind of hope can companion us through the perilous decades to come? The last great chief of the Crow Nation was a man named Alik Chia Haush, also known as Plenty Coups, who led his people as white conquest turned their world upside down. In the 1850s, when he was a boy, the Crow were a powerful tribe of nomadic hunters. As an old man, Plenty Coups recalled, "When the buffalo went away, the hearts of my people fell to the ground, and they could not lift them up again. After this, nothing happened. There was little singing anywhere." Under Plenty Coups' leadership, the Crow allied themselves with the United States against the Crow's traditional enemies, the Cheyenne and the Sioux. When the wars ended, Plenty Coups took up farming and urged his people to do the same. He encouraged young Crow to educate themselves in the white schools and to be open to the white religion. This strategy preserved his people, their best land, and the essence of who they were in the face of disaster. Where some might understandably see in Plenty Coups' strategy a cowardly collaboration, philosopher Jonathan Lear sees profound courage. In their most desperate hour, Lear suggests, maybe what the Crow needed most was not another war chief to die in glorious battle, but a new Crow poet, a creative maker of meaningful space, of a new field of possibilities. Plenty Coups embodied what Lear calls radical hope, a commitment to a goodness that transcends one's current understanding of the good. A commitment to the bare idea that something good will emerge. It's basically the hope for revival, for coming back to life in a form that is not yet intelligible. This hope, Lear writes, is held in the face of the recognition that given the abyss, one cannot really know what survival means. It's too late to prevent climate change. But it's never too late to prevent the bad from getting worse, and the worse from getting incalculably worse still. We did not choose this calling, no more than did Plenty Coups. We would not choose it. That's why it's called a calling and not a choice. Moses, Mary, Paul, Muhammad, Scripture is filled with stories of people just going about their lives when God calls them to a very different purpose. I was a parish minister for 16 years, the last 7 as senior minister of First Parish in Cambridge. In the fall of 2015, I left parish ministry to devote my energies to climate advocacy, especially among people of faith. Not all of us are called to quit our jobs, but all of us are called to act. It's no longer enough to shrink our personal carbon footprint or to green our congregation. These are good things to do, but many of us have been doing them for decades, and the earth has only grown hotter. We've got to do more. To stop climate change, we need national and state policies and international treaties to keep carbon in the ground and transition as rapidly as possible to safe, carbon-free, renewable energy. So changing a light bulb is good. Changing a senator is better. They're not mutually exclusive. By all means, change your light bulb, but don't stop there. Personal transformation, community transformation, institutional transformation, and political transformation go hand in hand, and none can succeed without the rest. Listen to this joint statement by religious leaders. Global warming is predicted to increase temperatures worldwide, changing climate patterns, increasing drought, threatening agriculture, and creating millions of environmental refugees. We reaffirm in the strongest possible terms the indivisibility of social justice and ecological integrity. Economic equity, racial justice, gender equality, and environmental well-being are interconnected, and all are essential to peace. To help ensure these, we pledge to mobilize public opinion and to appeal to elected officials. We dare not let our resolve falter. This statement was signed by the heads of major Christian denominations and prominent ministers, priests, and rabbis. Inspiring words. And they would be even more inspiring had they not been published in 1991, nearly 3 decades ago. The climate crisis is solvable. Solutions are all around us: wind, solar, conservation, efficiency, smart growth, smart infrastructure, bioagriculture, eco-restoration. Given the powerful forces opposed to these, however, achieving them will be the hardest thing we have ever done. We must be bolder, smarter, more creative, more faithful than ever before. Today, young people around the world, many of them in their teens or even younger, are mobilizing in unprecedented numbers and strength to demand real climate solutions in real time. Sunrise Movement, This is Zero Hour. Student strikers inspired by 16-year-old Greta Thunberg of Sweden are calling out their elders for our tardiness and timidity in facing the climate crisis. The Green New Deal is shifting the national conversation on climate from what politics deems convenient toward what science deems necessary. For the past year, I've been helping to organize a new coalition of faith leaders and scientists for renewable energy and climate justice here in Massachusetts. The active support of Cardinal Sean O'Malley and the Massachusetts Catholic Conference brings the potential of unprecedented political clout to this interfaith campaign. For more information, you can go to faithsciencealliance.org or see me after worship, where you can add your name to our mailing list. I have a clipboard. I have 2 clipboards. And I think if Moses had been a Unitarian Universalist when he came down the mountain, he would have had 2 clipboards, not 2 stone tablets. And now I invite you to imagine that you and I are passengers on the great ship Titanic on its maiden crossing of the North Atlantic. Suddenly, the huge vessel shudders. Gradually, with agonizing slowness, we come to realize, first, that the ship has been struck, then that it has been breached, then, can it be possible that it's in trouble? And finally, that it's sinking. At each stage, we might feel shock, disbelief, outrage. How could this be happening? How could those in charge have been so reckless? Can I still get a refund for my ticket? But eventually, some of us cross the threshold from shock, disbelief, and outrage into an acceptance of our circumstance. Not an acceptance that it's acceptable or just or fair, but an acceptance that it is. And then, if we are wise enough and brave enough, we turn from complaint to commitment. How do I live my life for the rest of my life? To what purpose am I faithful? How courageously and creatively can I respond to this catastrophe? How can I serve? How can I sacrifice? And in that turning, there is a moment when we find ourselves standing on the tilting deck, lashed by wind and spray, and gripped by a wild, extravagant, even fearless joy. Life without meaning, says Nick Vujicic, has no hope. Life without hope has no faith. If you find a way to contribute, you will find your meaning, Nick says. And hope and faith will naturally follow and accompany you into your future. Against our will, but with our faith, we are called into a future beyond our dreams, beyond our nightmares, beyond our comprehension. We are called to build a new world of safe and sustainable energy, of justice and compassion, of care for the sacred web of life. We are called to courage and sacrifice and imagination. We are called to radical hope. Amen. And blessed be. I was hoping. Thank you. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.